In 10 minutes. First, it's really important to have someone say, okay, I'll be the leader, I'll organize this, otherwise you're going to spend 8 minutes kind of mumbling at each other. And then at the last minute go, oh, we got 2 minutes, we better get our stuff together. As soon as one person identifies themselves as the leader, then start assigning roles of who's going to introduce everybody, who's going to welcome the member of Congress, who's going to ask the questions, who's going to say, here, we want you to propose legislation that does this, who's going to say, who do you work with across the aisle, who's going to be the note taker, who's going to be the time taker. So you're going to assign roles. Okay? Then you need to figure out who's going to be the member of Congress. So when I come in, I'm going to be Pat Roberts or Ben Nelson or whatever member of the House or Senate you want me to be. Okay? And then what hopefully we'll actually do is in a dialogue with the member of Congress, we'll actually be able to make some of the points that you actually got there in the laser talk. Okay, so it's 10 minutes, it's not a ton of time, but what we want to demonstrate is the value of doing this, particularly before we go sit down with a member of Congress. So we're not going in there with 3 people winging it and 2 people having a plan of what wants to happen. Okay, it's much better if we kind of have a plan. I'm going to hand out some of these outlines in just a second, but does anybody have a question about generally what we're trying to do before I hand out the outlines? Okay, let me see, I think I have enough for 2 for every group, but let me start with 1. There's 1 for your group. There's 1 for your group. Okay, here's 1 for your group. And I do have enough, it looks like enough for, there's another 1 for your group. And there's another 1 for your group. So now your group has 2.
Thank you.
And here's another 1 for your group. Okay, the clock starts now. You got 10 minutes.
Anybody want to add the purpose to their, which I thought it was a part of the introduction. I'm confused why 2 and 4 are separate.
Purpose to introduce ourselves as hi, we're from Citizens Climate Lobby. You could combine those, obviously, and not have a problem at all.
Okay, yeah. So Jean, would you do that? Or Jean, would you do that?
So I'm going to do,
you're going to
ask
ask,
my
you're
question
just going to tell why we're
right
here.
after I introduce who we are. Okay.
Okay, and then we have a request, which is the purpose, isn't it? Right.
Hey, Mark, is that mic on the outside of your sweater?
No.
Reporter introduced
On the outside, my
Okay.
I'll just do this then.
Great, thank you.
And then the question Stan's going to ask what the legislator likes or dislikes about Boxer Kerry, Waxman Markey, and Cantwell.
Is it a House or Senate member?
House. So who do we want it to
House,
be?
then it would be Waxman Markey because the other bills were in the Senate.
Okay.
Okay.
So who are we choosing for this to be?
I was going to ask that question.
Right, but
Who am I going to
Who
be?
is the legislator?
Oh, you Congressman Fortenberg from Hindenburg.
Okay, Fortenberg.
Barry.
Fortenberg, Barry, Fortenberry, Dem, Republican, okay, cool.
I wanted to interrupt very briefly and point out the wisdom of finding this commonality. Like you mentioned children. I mentioned that Senator Brandback was one of the few senators to step up and acknowledge the Dalai Lama first.
Yeah, a great thing like that. Yeah.
Pat Roberts, who I don't like very well.
Right.
We need your organization to do this research for each congressman. But Pat Roberts, people here may not know, was not always in lockstep with Bush Cheney because he supported trade and opening up to Cuba.
Cool. Okay.
After you ask your question, I'll ask my question.
You are, okay, and then Frank next asked the question, what do you think would be the fastest way for U.S. to become a leader in creating renewable clean jobs? Right? And then Dwayne asked, do you view reducing our dependence on foreign oil
let me grab one
as a
thing.
security issue? And then Steve asked, do you think And then I can ask the questions.
Fortenberry. 4th term. Wow.
That's all it is this afternoon.
Agriculture, Foreign Affairs. Okay.
And then thank you for your time. We'd like to thank you for your time.
You may or may not still have time at that point.
No, you're not. Okay, we won't make it that far. Okay, so let me tell you how this is going to go.
Okay.
Usually what's going to happen is they will have some room, somebody's office, might be a conference room, might be just in the lobby. And so you'll be all sitting there, and the member of Congress will walk in with a staffer, because all the follow-up's going to go with the staffer. Okay? And they're going to walk in and they're going to say, thank you so much for coming in today. What can I do for you? And you're going to say,
Representative Fortenberry, we are the climate lobby from Lincoln, Nebraska, and how are you today?
I'm great, thank you for asking.
How much time do we have with you?
15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe.
We want to know that we have followed your interest in renewable energy.
In the interest in what?
In renewable energy.
Yes.
Solar, geothermal. I get your emails and I see that you're very interested in that and you keep learning about it, and we are supporting those approaches as well.
Yeah, I think we really can do great with that in Nebraska. I think we can create a lot of jobs here, and so I'm a big believer in renewable energy. I like clean energy. I think it's important. I think we need to use all possible energy sources in the country. I think renewable is a big part of it.
Excellent. We're on solid ground here.
Great.
Okay. Do you think our current policies reflect good stewardship of the planet?
Wow, nobody's ever asked me that before. I certainly think that the air and water can be cleaner. So, and I'm a good...
Republican.
I know, but I'm just checking to see what religion he is. I'm a good Catholic.
Body of Christ.
Yeah. We could definitely do better. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, our request of you today is if would you support our efforts to put a fee on carbon and give it back to the citizens of the U.S. equally in dividends?
Are you talking about a new tax? Because, I oppose all taxes.
It's not a tax. It is a fee on those who take non-renewable sources out of the ground, and then that money would then be given back to all the citizens. So no, it actually would end up putting more money into the pockets of the average citizen, of all citizens.
Okay, I think that's a good answer, but let me just tell you one thing that I might add with it.
Okay.
When you go in there and I say, I want you to put a fee on carbon, and they say to you, isn't this a tax? What you should say to them, yes, it is.
You do?
Oh, yes, absolutely, because they're saying you're just playing semantics with them then.
Okay.
So what you say is, yes, I'm talking about adding a tax. Now, I know you signed a tax pledge saying you won't vote for any climate bill that increases government revenue. The reason we want to talk to you about this one, because it doesn't. Because we actually take all the money and send it back to American households. So we understand this would be difficult for you to vote for it. But let's be clear that it does allow you to honor your pledge. So we don't want to run away from that, because then they're going to think you're just playing some word game with them.
And there's been a lot of that.
Yeah, okay?
Well, and I'm glad that I didn't think of this as a tax.
No, well, yeah, you wouldn't, you shouldn't. But don't be afraid of it when they say it is. Because when you go to Republican offices, they're going to say, oh, you're talking about a carbon tax. Yes, I am.
So just let it
Yes, I am.
Great.
Yeah.
So even if we said it was a usage fee, we say,
Well, if they say it's a tax, don't be scared to say, yeah, sure it is. Like, listen,
Yeah, we tried to
let's
call it a
let's not be
usage
scared that that's a bad word. Yes, we're for a tax on this. That's what. Yes. People who are for taxes, right here, we want this tax. Let's not be scared of it. Okay? Yeah. Okay, great. Keep going.
And we do have more questions for you.
Yes, please.
okay, Representative, what about the Waxman-Markey bill or the Cantwell-Collins bill?
Waxman-Markey was the only one that Cantwell-Collins was in the Senate, so you would only ask about Waxman-Markey.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the Waxman-Markey
Well, I voted against it, right?
bill? No.
Okay, you would know that because you would have done your research. So I voted against it, and the reason I voted against it is because it created a huge new government bureaucracy. It was complicated. It was 1,600 pages long. I've read War and Peace. It's longer than War and Peace, right? I don't think Waxman or Markey read it. So I don't think we need to add a whole bunch of government bureaucracy and a bunch of job-killing government bureaucracy is what it looked like to me. So I was against it.
Is it longer than the Gulag Archipelago?
Okay, that's not the direction we want to go.
2 pages, it's simple. It's
But let's where could we find some commonality with him if he said that?
All over the place.
Yeah, so just give me an example. Yeah, we thought it was too complicated too, right? That's why what we're going to talk about is...
I've been able to read the IRS code.
Yeah, we want something that's simple. We actually have a 2-page proposal because we thought that was way too complicated also. Yeah, so...
And our proposal creates jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's again where what you want to do is anticipate the kind of answers they're going to give you, and then be ready so that when they say that, no, it was a bureaucracy, it killed jobs. Yeah, that thing was so complicated, I couldn't believe it. So then we find some common ground and say that's like a simple approach that doesn't require a bureaucracy and creates American jobs. Yeah.
So it's not at all like a software user's manual.
I don't know.
Okay.
So,
Another
Congressman
member of our
Foreman,
Yeah.
what do you think would be the fastest way for the United States to become the leader in creating renewable, clean jobs?
Well, I don't think it's from subsidizing wind and solar projects. I mean, you saw what happened with Solyndra. We just spent $500 billion. It went down the toilet. Those subsidies are a complete waste, so I don't think it's subsidizing. Which they're going to say that. They're not always going to answer your question. They're going to tell you
That's true.
what they're not going to happen. But again, we can find common ground here, can't we? So they say that. You say, yeah, we're for eliminating all energy subsidies. We don't want to subsidize wind and solar. We don't want to subsidize anything. We think the free market should work here.
It's going to be a level playing field.
Yeah, but what you're always looking for is how they might answer, and then how you can do that to find common ground. See, listen, if all we accomplish this first meeting is they'll let us come back, that is more than mission accomplished. Yeah, it's like, oh, these are reasonable people. They listen. When I say something, they hear what I said. They're paying attention. They're not crazy. They're not lecturing me.
Yeah, we're not saying bullshit. We're just saying, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought this was brilliant.
Mic check.
Right. When the Oklahoma group went into Senator Inhofe's office, they walk in there and they go, "We come in peace. We didn't come here to argue with you about the science." So it just kind of disarmed the whole thing. Yeah. So how can we connect? So I got to move on to the groups, but let me say one other thing. Leaving a packet of information for them doesn't help them. Okay? They're overwhelmed. So what you should say is, I have draft language for our thing. Because he's a Catholic, we can say, I have the report from the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. I have some information from the Pentagon. If you want it, I'm happy to send it to you, paper, electronic, any way you want. But ask them if they want something, and don't give them something unless they say I actually want it. Okay?
And do you ask for the staff who follows this? Because, I mean, the staff
Yes,
that may not be the person that knows about energy.
They're going to bring that person. Unless that person's unavailable, the person who they're dedicated to is the member. So if the member's in a meeting, the staff member on that is going to be there. So you're going to say to that person, how do you want us to follow up? Do you prefer email? Do you prefer per phone? Make sure you walk away with something. And then one last thing is, if every person writes a handwritten thank you note, it makes a huge difference. They get a zillion emails. They don't get any handwritten notes. It's just like you and I. Once your grandma died, you didn't get handwritten notes anymore, did you? It's the same thing with them. Okay, so now just see if you can give each other some feedback about what you could see worked, what you might improve on. I got to run to the other groups for a minute, okay? Okay, you guys are third. Okay. So I have a question. So if we do your group second, is there any chance we can talk you into getting your guitar and doing the song after we finish these? You don't have to. You don't have to. You can say no, and I'll be completely cool, and I won't bring it up. Okay, good. All right.
If I could, if I can go print off the words and everybody would sing them with me, I would do it.
Really? Mm-hmm. So if we,
I'll go print off the words.
How many people, like enough copies so that each group could see or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Does that sound fun?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Wait,
okay.
where's Turtle though?
Turtle? Is this Entourage? Okay.
Can you ask at the end, who can you meet across the aisle?
Because Jason left.
I'm not really taking notes.
No, you're not really taking notes, but you would be. You can if you want to practice.
It's worthy. Whatever you say is very worthy.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Bonus point. Extra cookie. Okay, so here's how this is going to go. Is you're either going to be in a conference room or somebody's office, or sometimes just in the lobby. Sometimes you're going to walk out in the hall. But if it's the member, you're probably going to be in their office. They're going to walk in with an aide. They're going to sit down. Oh, who am I, by the way?
Jerry Moran.
Okay, good. They're going to walk in and they're going to say, thank you so much for coming out today. What can I do for you?
Senator Moran, we really appreciate your meeting with us today. I have to confess I'm a Democrat, but I have read your webpage pretty regularly, and I'm really impressed with the balanced tone that you seem to be looking for answers, for ways to change things, rather than just blaming.
Yeah, there's too much of that. It's a hard enough environment to work in, and if all we do is point fingers at each other, it's terrible, and I have been trying to work across the aisle because I think that's important. Yeah, thank you.
And we're all members of the climate change lobby from Lawrence, and our group is, the main purpose of the group is to create the political will to create climate stability, and that's why we're wanting to meet with you today.
So our request would be that you would support legislation that puts a fee on carbon-based fuels and returns that revenue to the American households and taxpayers. We have money, or we have more to say. Wish we had money on that, but we would like to know what your views on climate and energy policy are.
So what did you like or dislike about Boxer Kerry, Waxman Markeyville, or Cantwell Collins from the 111th Congress?
They all seemed overly complicated to me. They'd kill jobs. They'd create whole new government bureaucracies, add extra costs in the government we don't need, make energy more expensive. I didn't support any of those efforts.
Okay. What do you think would be the fastest way for the United States to become a leader in creating renewable, clean jobs?
I don't think we should be subsidizing wind and solar. I mean, you just look, we just lost $500 billion on Solyndra. So I don't think subsidizing energy, it works. I don't think there's a problem with the government supporting research. I think the Department of Energy should do research, but I don't think we should be subsidizing energy.
Do you view reducing our dependence on foreign oil as a national security?
Let's just stop for 1 second, okay? So one of the things that we're for in the bill we proposed is the elimination of all energy subsidies, okay? So if he says, I'm not for subsidizing energy, you could say something like, God, that's great to hear, because that's one of the things we don't want. We don't want to subsidize any form of energy. We want to let the market actually solve it. So we're looking for a dialogue where we can have commonality. I know, listen, I gave you 10 minutes to protect us. I do this all day, every day, so of course I would think to say that. But I just want to give you, for instance, what we're looking for. Okay, all right.
And also you can agree with him on the complexity of the...
Yes. Yeah, we thought those bills were way too complex too. You could say that.
Our bill is 2 pages long.
Yeah, our bill is 2 pages long. I can read the whole thing. My attention span and not fall asleep, yeah.
Okay. If anyone else wants to chime in.
Yeah, we need to hang there with you.
All right. So do you think our current policies regarding clean air and clean water reflect good stewardship of our planet?
Nobody's ever asked me that. We're probably not. I think the air could be cleaner, the water could be cleaner. I think we could be taking way better care of the planet. I think you're right. Now, I do think that we should be drilling offshore because it can be done safely. We should be getting natural gas because we can do all those things safely. So I think we should do everything, and because the technology has improved, I think we can drill a lot of places and do it safely.
So we would, again, like to request that you would support or introduce some legislation that puts a fee on carbon and returns that revenue to the American households.
So you want me to introduce a new tax?
No, it's not a tax.
Okay, so let's just say one thing. If you go in a Republican office and you say, I want you to put a fee on carbon, they say, you're talking about a carbon tax, aren't you? Here's what I want you to say. Yes, I am.
Actually, that's true.
Yes, I am. So that let's the one word we do not want to be afraid of. Okay, yes, I am proposing you putting a tax on carbon. I'm proposing you putting a new tax. Now, the reason we think you can support this is because we're proposing to take every single dollar and send it back to American households. So I think traditionally you would talk about a tax as something that grows government. We're talking about actually giving every single dollar back to American households. So I think this is something you could support because rather than subsidizing energy, we're letting the market go to work, which will let our renewable industries really explode. Okay?
Well said.
Thank you. This is my second time doing this. I can't wait till it happens by the third.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about natural gas,
Yeah.
We don't want to bring up the issue of fracking because that's not our issue.
Right. Knowing that fracking is hugely problematic right now.
We just keep hammering away on letting the market take care of it. That's why we're going to put a tax on carbon.
Correct.
And so this whole thing is no subsidy.
We'll get back to fracking because we're going to have to deal with it. But right now, that's not the thing we're working on. You know, if they ask you if you say, are you for fracking? No, I'm not. It's not proven technology. There's way too many problems. If it is proven technology, then let's get rid of the way it was dealt with, where Cheney pushed through, where it was essentially not regulated. You know, if we can actually regulate it, make sure it is safe, then we can do it. Okay, keep going. Sorry, we took you off track.
How would you like us to follow up with you?
Good. Okay, so let's be real. This is a big point that's different between us and most people. Almost everybody you talk to is going to be overwhelmed. So don't assume that giving them a bunch of information helps them. So you asked it the exact right way. So you say, listen, we have a lot of extra material we can get to you. We can get it to you paper, we can get it to you electronic, but we only want to send it to you if you want it. So we've got a copy of our legislation, we've got a copy of the Pontifical Academy. That's right, 2 pages. It's a bill and a breath mint. You know, we've got the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, we've got Building the Green Economy. So if you want any of those, electronic or paper, we're happy to get them to you. But only if you want them and in the format you want them. So you're going to ask the aide that, do you want some of this stuff? And then if the member says yes, you're going to say you're going to get it back to him. Okay? Then I'm going to interrupt you because I want to get over to the third meeting. Then here's one thing I'm going to ask you to all to do. After the meeting, every single one of you write a handwritten note to thank them. Because they get tons of email, but they don't get any handwritten notes, just like you and I don't. You know, you get a gazillion emails every week, right? How many handwritten notes do you get? None. Yeah, none. Unless your grandma's still alive, in case you occasionally get one from her. Otherwise, you don't get one from anybody, right? Okay, good. So if you could debrief what you liked about what you just did and what you could improve, that would be great, and then I'll go do that meeting, and if you would do your special task while that happens.
I can't debrief. For something.
Okay, all right. You guys have been slacking long enough.
Talking nuclear.
You guys have been avoiding this meeting long enough now. It's time to meet your maker. Okay, so who am I going to be? Lynn Jenkins. Okay, so hang on one second, okay? So Lynn Jenkins.
You're going to have to talk in a little higher pitched voice.
Okay. Oh, that Lynn Jenkins. Okay, so she's in her second term. She was elected with 63% of the vote last time. She's a Methodist. She's in the Ways and Means Committee, which is the
Methodist. Because we were talking about that earlier.
Yep, she is in the Ways and Means Committee, which is the committee legislation like this would have to be introduced in. So that's a good thing. Wow. Okay, Weber State University because I grew up in Salt Lake.
She went to Weber State?
She went to Kansas State and then to Weber State she got her BS there. What do you know? Okay. Okay, so she can't be too smart. No, sorry. No, it's not the most demanding. No, the Weber State is not the most demanding college to get into in the country. Sorry. Strike that from the record. That's not our.
Okay. We weren't going to ask you about it.
Okay, so here's how this is going to go. If it's with the member of Congress, usually they'll use her office. Sometimes these will happen out in the lobby, sometimes in a conference room. They'll walk in with an aide who's going to take notes for them, who you're going to do all the follow-up with. She's going to walk in and she's going to say, thank you so much for coming out today. What can I do for you?
I'm going to say, I would like to introduce the Honorable Representative Lynn Jenkins. That's my job.
Okay.
So there you are.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you foresee all of these meetings to take place in Washington? Can
No,
any of these
no, the majority of them happen in district.
will be okay?
Yeah, in their district office. 90%.
They're a lot easier to meet with here than
Yes,
they are in D.C.
90% of them are going to happen here. Once a year we have a conference in D.C. If you can make it to that, it'll change your life. You'll never be the same. But the vast majority of the meetings, you're going to just go to the district office locally.
And they'll have an aide there that'll come to
Oh
the
yeah,
meeting.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Representative Jenkins, thanks a lot for meeting with us. My name's Bob I, and Lana here would like to introduce us to you.
Okay.
Representative Jenkins, I'd like to introduce you to the Citizens for Climate Change Lobby.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know how much time we have for the meeting.
15 minutes.
Yeah, and Representative Jenkins, we really
So hold on just one second. So I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second. So what just happens right there when she says how much time do you have? What does this person think?
Shows that they respect your time.
Yeah, exactly. Because most people don't come in there and say that. So it's like, okay, well that's interesting. I'm glad they said that. That was a good thing for them to do. Okay.
Yeah, and Representative Jenkins, we really want to thank you for your years of service to the United States and to our local area. We really appreciate your listening to us on this matter today.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Not everybody says nice things to us lately. So we like it when people say nicer things to them. So thank you for saying that.
Well, Representative Jenkins, the reason we're here is because we want to present some ideas that we have been developing in the Citizens Climate Lobby organization about how to address problems related to climate change. And these are ideas that will benefit not only the environment in terms of reducing CO2 and other greenhouse gases, but also be good for the economy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
really what we want to do is we want to ask for your support or ask you to introduce legislation that puts a fee on carbon. Carbon-based fuels and returns the revenue in American households. We'll have more to say on that, but we'd like to really know what some of your priorities are for climate and energy policy.
Well, first of all, I think we need to get energy from every possible source we can. I think we need to drill here so we're not buying foreign oil. Certainly reducing our dependence on foreign oil is a good thing. So we need to be drilling everywhere we can. And I think we need to get rid of some of the regulatory hurdles, some of the problems with the EPA, so it's easier to extract energy and build more nuclear plants. I think we can actually get all of our energy homegrown, which is a good thing. So those would be my priorities.
well, Representative Jenkins, actually the priorities that we're advocating don't necessarily conflict with that.
Let me just make sure one thing, okay? The first thing you always want to make sure is they know they've been heard. So let's make sure their statement's done before we get on to the next thing. Okay. So remember, we're here this time because we want to make sure they invite us back the next time, the next time, the next time, the next time. And part of that is being good listeners. So you didn't jump in too quick, but let's just be attentive to that.
All right.
Okay? Yeah. Okay, so then go ahead.
We don't believe that your concerns necessarily conflict with what we are advocating here. To a certain extent, we're looking at a market-based solution, and we understand that market-based solutions are something that you advocate as well. And we're just asking that you keep an open mind because this is a market-based solution.
Okay.
And it's in its formative stages, but it's gaining support. And we have some other questions that I think we'd like to pose as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Representative Jenkins, what did you like or dislike about the Waxman-Markey bill?
I would put mine in the category of dislike almost everything. It was 1,600 pages long. I don't think either Waxman or Markey actually read it. I know I didn't. It was added all kinds of new bureaucracies. It was so complicated. It was going to kill jobs. I really can't think of anything in that I was in favor of.
Well, we had a lot of concerns about that as well, for the same reason. The ideas that we're advancing really have a much more direct, much less bureaucratic method to them.
Great. Okay, so now this is exactly the kind of work we want to be doing. Is they say that was huge, complicated, and bureaucratic. We want to say, boy, were we with you on that. We thought that was way too complicated. I tried to read it, but I tried to kill myself 3 times during reading it because it was so brutal. It's like, no, of course not. It was my nightly reading material. I need to go to sleep. So we want to look where we can find common ground and say, yes, we thought it was too complicated. We don't think we require a new bureaucracy to actually create energy independence in our country. So we do think there's a approach that uses the market, is simple, and doesn't require bureaucracy. So knowing that they voted against Waxman Markey, which you'll know before you go in, that you're ready when they say that so that you're ready to find where you find commonality with them. Okay? But it's crucial that we go in there and establish that we're really good listeners. So when they say stuff, we hear it. We hear stuff before we move on. Yeah. Okay? What we're looking for is the human connection. Right. You do that by listening to people, right? You ever go to coffee with somebody and they talk the whole time and you say, if I don't ever have coffee with that person again, it'll be fine with me? Yeah. But they probably think you're the smartest, most interesting, intelligent person they've ever met because they talked the whole time. So we want to be very good listeners in this environment, knowing that we want to get our points in, but that it's important that we make a connection. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When we first asked that one question about what your priorities for climate and energy policy, you kind of talked about the energy side of it.
Yes.
You didn't say anything about the climate side.
Yeah, right.
Is that an okay thing to go back and say, well, you've told us a little bit about energy?
No. No, if you go back and say that, you say, what's wrong with you, you blockhead? Didn't you hear my question?
Okay.
You know,
okay,
so it's, you know, you're really, it's like the standard thing of you're on a date. Is someone going to go out with you on the next date if you say, what'd you order that for? You know, it's really, you're using the same thing that you've been successful in relationships with other people. What we're trying to do is connect with people. They're human beings. I know they're, politicians, and you see them on TV shows with people saying terrible things about them. But they're fundamentally people, and we can connect with them using the same thing. They're no different than anybody else. We just have to do that, pay attention, be clear, listen to them, go in there with the approach of, this is a person that I can connect with. Okay? And reminding people that they didn't answer part of the question, most people don't like. Yeah. I asked you a question, you don't seem to have answered it. Can you confirm or deny this is energy and climate? Okay, sorry for interrupting. Where are we?
And Representative Jenkins, what do you think would be the fastest way for the United States to become the leader in creating renewable, clean jobs?
Well, I don't think it's by subsidizing wind and solar. I mean, look, we just wasted $500 million on Solyndra. So I don't think it's on subsidizing. So now, they're going to say that.
Okay.
So what we're going to say is, I didn't ask you what you don't want, I asked you what you want. No, we're not going to say that, right? We're going to say, listen, we're in the same route with you. We don't want to subsidize energy. We think the market can solve this. So what we're going to do is ask those questions, anticipate their answer, and then look to see where we can work with them based on the answers we anticipate. Okay, we need to move on to other things, but let me just say a couple last things, okay? First of all, you're doing a fantastic job for 10 minutes of preparation. That's no amount of time to be able to prepare, so this is done really well. When we ask them if they want materials at the end, we're not just going to come back and say, here's this packet. Look, we got all this great stuff. I know you want it. They are overwhelmed. Okay? We don't want to help them it doesn't help them to overwhelm them. What we want to say is, if you want our copy of Building the Green Economy, we can get it to you in paper or electronic. If you want a copy of our draft legislation, we can get it to you electronic or paper. You want a copy of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences report? Same thing, we'll get you. But we're only going to say we'll get them stuff if they want it. Let's not assume that piling information onto people helps, okay? Okay. All right, good job, guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think we're ready for, where are we? Are we?
To sing?
Yes. Okay, everybody. Now, you didn't know that part of the Citizens Climate Lobby training is singing, did you? This is one of the things that makes us different. Is this is this a copy of the whole song? Yeah. Okay, all right.
If you would, stand next to her so you and Mike will pick it up.
Okay, hold on. Pass some of those in your group. And the singing part means everybody sings. So you're going to have to kind of share with a neighbor. So, okay, if there's enough for every other person. Hold on, she'll tell you what the tune is. Hold on, there you go. There you go. All right. Here. And you're going to stand next to me so that Mike picks it up, okay?
Okay. Are we in a good place?
Let's go over here so we're in a good place. Okay, so tell them what the tune is.
Well, it's that, It's William Tell's Overture. Carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend. And the verses are hard to get out, but remember, I'm only doing this if you guys sing.
So here's the thing. When we had our September column, we had Mark Jacobson, the guy who'd mapped the whole world and show how do we convert. So I told him I wanted to introduce him to Citizens Climate Lobby, and we were a little bit different kind of group, and then Lene sang this song.
And the only way I could do it is I couldn't see everybody.
Right.
There was like 400 people.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so everybody ready? So you have to sing.
Everybody.
Carbon count is rising, temperatures are climbing, glaciers they are melting, polar bears are drowning, ocean levels rising, and we'll soon have widespread floods. Farmland's not producing because they baked under the sun. We must get the carbon down to 350. That's the standard. Most folks love carbon theory. What are we to do? Okay, there we go. Carbon fee and dividend. Carbon fee and dividend. Carbon fee and dividend. Carbon fee and dividend. Okay, you're going to have to hold still. How does this work, you say? Let me put it this way. A fee is put on carbon as it comes out of the earth. Then this fee is passed along to all of us consumers. So we'll want to purchase things with little carbon. Eventually the economy moves away from fossil fuels, growing green technology, saving the earth. Carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend. Wait for good news I have, all of the fee collected goes back to each one of us, paid back through dividends, equal fee to all of us, paid through IRS each month. Equal you'll be good to know, but if your footprint is huge, well then you'll be screwed. It's time to change to greener ways of being alive. Carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend, carbon fee and dividend.
We are attempting to prove that we can do this without being grim. We hope we can do it. Okay, so we just have a couple of things left to cover. So if your back's turned, if you wouldn't mind turning up to the front again. So, the heart of our work is meeting face-to-face with members of Congress. But another big piece of it is newspapers. And so what we want you to start doing is thinking about newspapers as an organization that wants to say what the news is. So if you respond to what they say the news is, you're very likely to get published. So here's kind of their hierarchy of what they're looking for. First of all, if they published an editorial, so if it's the position of the newspaper that says something, if you respond to that because they're saying that's most important, that gives you a very good chance of getting published. If it's something else on the editorial page, maybe a visiting person who the op-eds that they get from other papers, like a Tom Friedman, a Paul Krugman, a George Will, if you respond to them, they also consider that to be a high priority. The third priority would be the front page because they've said that's what's most important. If you just send a letter about whatever you want to write about, you might get it published. But you significantly increase your chances when you respond to what they say is the news. So that starts with what they wrote on the editorial page, and then it goes to the front page of the paper. Okay? Now, in addition to that, we will provide training from Steve Valk, who worked at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for 31 years to help you draft both op-eds and letters to the editor so you'll regularly get published. What we'd like to have happen is anytime something happens that's significant, that a lot of you write in. Not writing in the exact same thing because newspapers catch that, but with a common theme. So, let's say Solandra goes belly up, right? $500 billion investment by the government. You can write about that and say, yeah, that's the wrong way for us to get to energy independence. A faster, more efficient way to do it would be without government funds. You put a fee on carbon, let the market go to work. You see what's happening. There's going to be an endless amount of extreme weather events.